Hi, I'm Brian Newsom, Director of Fostering Hope, and I want to welcome you to our first ever virtual community fundraiser. Thank you so much for joining us. Many of you have known us for years. You're a volunteer, a donor, or a community partner. But many others are just hearing about us for the first time. So wherever you are and however you're tuning in, I just want to say we're grateful you're here. Over the next half hour, my hope is that you'll find this to be inspiring, enriching, and hopeful at a time when I think we could all use more of those things. 2020 has been a rough year. We've seen enough change and heartache to last ourselves a lifetime. And I think as you hear the stories of our foster families, kids who have emancipated, and the volunteers who are serving them, you'll see that loving service shows that hope remains beautifully the same, no matter what this world throws at us. First, I want to say thank you to our sponsors. Our presenting sponsor this year is D.A. Davidson, a full-service investment firm. They, along with our other corporate and in-kind sponsors, have ensured that 100% of your giving today will go directly to program. If you have a moment, I encourage you to go to our website to see the full list, as well as Facebook and Instagram. And we do have a live chat going today, so maybe give them a shout out or a thank you if you think of it. Next, I want to say that for the first time ever, we have a challenge matching grant. We have the opportunity for your gift to go further. You're going to hear more details about this at the end of the program. And last but not least, you may have seen in the news that we recently completed an economic impact study. We have the lead author of that study available to talk a little bit more about it today. In the meantime, I want to leave you with 3 basic questions. Why foster care? Why fostering hope? And why you?
I'm standing in front of an elementary school. Behind me, in the distance, you may see a hospital. These 2 places are where the story begins for children in foster care. Children enter foster care after suffering abuse or neglect. A teacher notices suspicious bruises. In extreme cases, a child is hospitalized in ways that are inconsistent with an accident. An investigation follows, and the children are removed from their home and placed in foster care. In theory, this is where the story should end. Most foster parents are loving people who sacrificially open up their homes to care for someone else's children. With the children safe in a loving home, away from danger, the parents have an opportunity to get the support and help they need so that they can be reunited.
The truth is much more complicated. First, there is nothing simple about poverty, addiction, or untreated mental illness, which can result in an unsafe environment for children. Not all children will be reunited with their parents or find an adoptive family. Second, trauma leaves a deep, long-lasting wound that etches itself on the brain and the heart. And last, while it's absolutely true that foster parents are in the best position to help heal these wounds, the job can be extremely difficult. There are therapy visits, doctor's appointments, and court cases. Some of these children may have additional medical needs, belong to a larger sibling group, or be teenagers. And because of their different experiences, their behaviors may be extreme.
When kids don't experience a calm and nurturing environment, the future is grim. When they grow up in foster care and eventually age out or emancipate as adults, they face an uneven playing field and often fail to find their place in the world. 1 out of 2 will spend some time here in jail, within just a couple of years aging out of the foster care system. A similar number will find themselves in shelters. For kids who bounce around from foster home to foster home, that number is even higher. 90% of those who bounce around among 5 or more foster homes in their childhood will end up here. For some, it may be temporary. For others, it's their future. It's believed that between 1/3 and 1/2 of the U.S. prison population experience time in foster care.
But it doesn't have to be this way, and as you'll hear from our kids and families, the future is looking very different. After all, we are in the business of hope. We enlist teams of volunteers from faith communities who become like aunts and uncles to foster families and their children as they age out of care. From a shoulder to cry on to assistance with laundry, they help the foster parents so they in turn can be there for their children. Teaching a young person to shop for groceries, helping them to get their first job, we work to recreate the kind of extended family and community that every young person needs to thrive. Now, to be clear, we aren't a foster parent licensing agency, and we don't work for Child Protective Services. Instead, we function uniquely alongside the child welfare system to fill in the gaps that it's not designed to provide, like unconditional love. During the pandemic, this need and the support has only grown stronger. Our volunteers delivered hundreds of meals to families and former foster youth in need. We channeled more than $20,000 in direct emergency assistance, such as laptops for e-learning, rental assistance after layoffs, even a car battery for a foster mom's car. In July alone, volunteers provided 320 hours of healing, love, and support. In just the past few months, their creativity's really shown through. Video story time and puppet shows, a fire pit, and s'mores fixings left on the doorstep, plenty of Zoom happy hours between volunteers and foster parents. Their emotional support never wavered.
Sometimes you just lie awake and you just think about what your future's going to look like and what your little sisters are going to grow up to be, and you don't know if this is going to change or not. I know when I was living with my birth mom, we lived in a motel downtown on North Nevada, and a lot of the times my mom would be gone, and so I'd have to babysit my sisters. You can't really think 5-10 years ahead when you're trying to just survive the next week.
What happens when you're not cared about? What happens when you're not protected? Where instead of being protected or held on somebody's lap, you get a smack across the face or a cigarette burn? Or what happens when instead of being smiled at, you're yelled at and called names? To permit kids to wither. As a community, every time that happens, we lose.
I was incredibly unstable, incredibly angry. I was incredibly confused. I didn't know what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be. I didn't know how to interact with people.
I think they're not expecting to be accepted, and they're not expecting longevity in their relationships.
What has to happen is that first they have to learn how to trust. And so usually that's with a foster parent, someone who's there with them for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and who can hold them in the middle of the night when they are having extreme nightmares.
You know, we know there's over 1,000 kids just in our area that need a home, and we can provide a home. Without Fostering Hope, we probably would have quit on this journey a long time ago. We were at a place where we had closed our doors to receiving more placements. We had considered the possibility, but had just felt too overwhelmed with our current number of children to step out and do that, even though our heart was big still towards the kids that were in need of a home.
I just know how difficult it can be, and I see her trying to do everything, and I think she just plays an important role in our society, and I want to see her succeed and not burn out, and so that's why I do what I do.
Well, I think a lot of these kids are looking for a family atmosphere. They're looking for that feeling of having people that they can count on. You know, while you're here, I'm gonna teach you everything I know. We're gonna have fun while we work. You know, it's just tacos and beer. We're gonna do it again tomorrow. So they always have that safe place to come back to and know that, you know, at the end of the day, not all is lost.
When I helped Ben, the young man who was interviewing with Chick-fil-A, prepare for his interview, he came back to me and said, you know, thank you so much for helping me prepare for this interview. And I told him, I really didn't do anything. You already had what it takes. You already have the tools that it takes to be able to be successful. What he said back to me was so meaningful. What he told me is that might be true, but that I helped him to believe it. And that just blew me away. I'm not creating the value and worth in anybody. They already have it. But if I can be someone who helps them to see that value in themselves and helps them to believe that they're capable, then I'm so happy with that result.
And what Fostering Hope does is help these kids understand that they have worth and that they can do what they want to do.
Anybody that cares about human life should be able to understand that they have time and they just need to make it.
Right now, I've just been working in construction almost full time. I really like having the job. I really enjoy it a lot. It's really great. I have so many different experiences already. I've only been there for about 5 months, 6 months, and I've experienced a lot more than any other job I've had. I wouldn't have achieved this without the help of Fostering Hope, without the help of, you know, all these like supports that I have that a lot of youth my age don't even have, and I am grateful every day for them, you know, being there for me.
Well, I always really wanted to go to college, and I always was really into school, and I really liked studying and learning things. But I never saw myself going to one of the best colleges in the state or studying something as difficult as medicine. But where I am right now, I can see that I'll succeed in that field. I think the changes really happen with the support and the teams that I've had. I've had a lot of opportunities that the rest of my family hasn't, and I've just pushed myself to work harder.
What they need is people to believe in them. That's the blank paper. They need people to encourage them. That's the pen. If we can do that for them and encourage them, the rest is their future.
I just really believe in these kids, and I really believe that this program is insanely helpful, and the numbers are there, the data is there, that this program does make a difference for them. And so I think expanding it and growing it, and whether that's our volunteer base or our financial base, I think it's really important that we, as this community, are investing in them so we can change the outcome for them, or really rather help them change the outcome for themselves.
Fostering Hope is Colorado Springs' way of trying to deal with kids who kind of miss out on the lottery. And it's there for them, and it's local. It's local people, local institutions, local government, but operating in a different way that starts with the relationships to the kids.
Had a big flower bed that was just overgrown. I hadn't been able to get out there because at the time I had 3 one-year-olds and a 2-year-old. I can't be outside working in the yard, you know. These kids are still crawling. For them to come out there and work all day, it was a glaring, it was a big signal to me that we care about you when we want to do something for you. And then the finished product, I didn't realize how much of a difference it would make. I thought, yeah, that'll just take one thing off the list. But like every day when I walked out my door, I saw something beautiful. I could smell flowers, and stuff like that gives you something good to see in the midst of really bad times, you know, hard times. And not only do you get to see beautiful flowers and that somebody actually did that for you, but it literally, every time you walk out the door, it's like, you're loved. You're loved. There's people who love you, who want to help, who want to do things for you, who are praying for you, and you're not alone. And that is such an important message for foster families, because you feel isolated.
Got a phone call saying, hey, we have this sibling group. Would you like to take them in? And I'm like, okay. Now, mind you, my husband was deployed at this time. And I had my son who was considered special needs, or is considered special needs. So then went and met the girls, because it was a sibling group, 2 little girls. And they came home on July 14, 2014, 4:30 in the afternoon. And my life changed from there. I had a lot of long days, long nights, no sleep. I was functioning on 2 hours of sleep. And, you know, I was struggling so hard. The hardest part about getting started with Fostering Hope is, will they judge me? That wasn't the case. We started off as a team, but from day one, it was like, I'm not gonna lie to you. This is what I'm dealing with. And I think that's what made us such a good team, because the communication was very open. I didn't lie to them, and I told them, please don't lie to me and sugarcoat anything, because this is not how it's gonna work. Don't be like, oh, they were so good, when I know that's not true. You know, and it's like, Sunny is like the fun aunt to my kids.
I'm the spoiler.
Yeah, she's the spoiler. Miss Ani has been like Oma,
Yeah.
our grandmother
Yeah.
of the team.
I never felt like a volunteer coming into your house, because I felt like you trusted me right away. And honestly, I truly feel like I'm part of an extended family.
It started off as like team members, but it ended up being so much more than that. It's like friends to family. You know, we have cried through so many things. They have been there for me. They've had things going on in their lives, and it's like, no, we'll make this work. This is not what it is. We're family.
I've gained a niece and a nephew. I've gained a best friend, a second husband. Because when my husband's gone, I make Pablo do stuff for me. Like, that's just how it is.
But I think the most profound moment was when I was sitting in the courtroom and I saw a little girl. I saw the adoption be finalized. It was just like, it's going to be in my heart forever. Very profound.
If you have a team that'll be there for you, I feel like we can possibly make it to the next day or the next week. You know, and it's like, I owe everything. Yeah, there's so much hope there, because I owe everything to Fostering Hope and to these ladies and to the previous team members. I probably wouldn't have finished my journey, because it was really hard, but we did. And now we are family, and that's all that matters. We're family.
Like, I was alone because of moving from home to home. I feel rejected a lot of time. Like I said, I was labeled as a difficult child. But in my mind, you know, I don't know the definition of difficult child, because I feel like I did everything I could. So, yeah, I think it really affected my trust with people. And also, like, but it also made me appreciate life more, to be more independent person and just live in the moment. So they helped me to move to my own apartment. And then one thing I also remember is that they bought me like a bed. So they bought me like a bed for me to sleep on because I had no bed, no nothing. So they bought me a bed. I believe pots and pans for me to cook. So that helps a lot because without the Fostering Hope, I think I would have survived, but it'd be more of a challenge, 10 times harder, financially and mentally, because whenever I need somebody to talk to, I will call one of my Fostering Hope mentor person, talk to them.
Hi everyone, I'm Jill Bradley, Children, Youth, and Family Services Manager, and I've worked in child welfare in El Paso County for 22 years. I am also a board member for Fostering Hope. You've heard about the economic impact of Fostering Hope, but let me tell you about this amazing organization and what they're doing to change foster care outcomes in our community. Foster parents supported by Fostering Hope are not burning out, and they're experiencing fewer disruptions, which you may know as bouncing around from foster home to foster home. This is so important because there's a shortage of foster parents, and because of the pandemic, the severity of abuse is on the rise. Normally, teens and young adults leaving foster care or, quote, aging out may have a bleak future. Not these kids. Almost all the teens and young adults served by Fostering Hope have graduated high school, compared to just 23% in Colorado for foster children as a whole. Most of these young adults are working and/or going to college, while typically the opposite can be true. Normally as many as 50% will be homeless, but this number is just 16% for these kids. One young lady is finishing graduate school and will soon be a certified public accountant. The really neat thing is that this is just the beginning. Many of the families we see at DHS have experienced this cycle of poverty, abuse, and neglect over generations. Fostering Hope is disrupting this cycle, creating a more hopeful future.
If someone donates $1, then they're going to get $2.79 that Fostering Hope is going to create in the community. It's not like your 401k, they're not going to get it back, right? But they're going to know that that impact is happening in the community because this SROI has been done very diligently and conservatively to tell that story. So much of your value is going to be left to be seen in the decades to come, and to your point earlier, the families that they have and then the families that come after that. And so I think that there's a really neat way to share that with folks that we haven't had an opportunity to work on a project like that before.
Earlier I asked 3 questions. Why foster care? Why Fostering Hope? And why you? Almost all of our budget is privately raised, much of it at this event. We don't charge fees for our services, and we don't rely on government contracts. Most of your gift goes toward the professional facilitation that's necessary to make these teams happen. It costs about $7,000 per year per team to support a foster family. But by comparison, if we fail, it can cost as much as $300,000 for one child. Now, COVID has hit us financially. We do expect that to continue. But the good news is the support all along has not wavered, and we don't expect that to change. Now, you heard earlier that almost $3 is generated in impact for every dollar given to us. You've also learned that through the generous support of our sponsors, 100% of your gift will go to program. But I'm also excited to share 2 other major ways that your gift will go further. First, our board has pulled together a $36,000 matching grant. That means if you give in the next 24 hours, your gift will be matched dollar for dollar. The second thing is Colorado has something called the Colorado Child Care Tax Credit, and Fostering Hope is an eligible organization. What this means is that if you were to give a gift of $1,000, it could be as low as $357 in actual cost. Now, I'm not an accountant and there's lots of tax laws and rules, so you need to talk to your accountant, but it is a really great benefit that you're eligible to take advantage of. So how do you give? Well, this has been a bit of a different year, but we've tried to make it as easy as possible. If you're paying by credit or debit card, you can just go to our website, fosteringhopefoundation.org/give. Here you have a choice. You can make an annual or a monthly recurring gift for a 3-year commitment. If you do this, you're joining what we call the Fostering Community Society. You will receive a personal written quarterly report from me, and you'll also get to hear more stories like those you've heard today. A one-time gift, of course, is very welcome as well, and you have both options on our website. You can also find giving information on the event page where you may even be watching this program today. Now there's of course the old-fashioned way, which is mailing a check, and we're happy to accommodate that as well. You can send a check to Fostering Hope, and our address is 111 South Tejon, Suite 112, Colorado Springs, Colorado 80903. And this information will be shared at the end of this broadcast. Last, if you want to have a little bit more fun and make it a little bit more personal, I will be here at this same address all day tomorrow, and I would welcome a chance to thank you personally if you want to drop by your check. I'll wear a mask, we'll keep our distance, but that would be a really neat way to do it if you so choose. Thank you again for tuning in. There's so much about 2020 that I think we'd all just as soon forget, but I hope that this is one bright spot on all of that, that you've found a little bit of inspiration and hope, and we're really grateful for your support.